Hello class, today we are going to start talking about Chapter 2, which focuses on linear equations. Today's focus is going to be specifically Section 2.1, which is writing equations. At the end of the lesson, you will be able to translate a verbal expression or a sentence into a mathematical equation, and vice versa. Take an equation and put it into a verbal expression or a sentence. So, in order to have an equation, we need to have three things. Similar to what we have for an expression, we need numbers. We need some sort of variable. Remember, that's a letter that stands for something that we don't know. We need an operation. There are 4 math operations: adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. You need to use at least one of them. And the difference between an expression and an equation is that an equation has an equal sign. So there are 2 sides to an equation, the left side and the right side. An expression is just a singular thing. Remember, last chapter we made a list of key words for you to use that tell you about adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. There's one more key word that we need to talk about, and that is, which stands for equals. So if you see the word is, that is where your equal sign is going to be. So starting with some sentences, turning them into equations. 7 times a number squared is 5 times the difference of k and m. Remember a few key things back from Chapter 1. If you see the word difference or sum, those need to go in parentheses, and new to this chapter, that word is going to tell us where the equal sign goes. So we're going to start off. We got 7 times the difference of a number squared. So 7 times, I'm going to say my number is x, and I'm going to square it. Then I have my word is. That's my equal sign. And the last part is 5 times the difference of k and m. So I've got 5, difference tells me to do parentheses, k minus m. One thing to note with this is it gives us k and m, and then it also says a number. When you are picking the variable for your number, it can't be k and it can't be m. Otherwise, the problem would state that specifically. Next one, 6 plus the quotient of a number and 8 is 24. So we start out, and it tells us we've got 6 plus the quotient of a number and 8. Remember that quotient means division. So we've got, I'm going to pick n for my number this time, and divide it by 8. Then we've got our is, which stands for our equal sign, and 24, which tells me that the whole thing is equal to 24. So similar to what you were doing with expressions last chapter, you're going to have to read the sentence, break it down piece by piece to turn it into its numerical equivalent. Go ahead and try this problem on your own. So your answer should be 4 in parentheses, x plus 9, again sum means parentheses, equals 3 parentheses, x minus 8, and that difference needs to also be in parentheses. Other piece that we have to do today is talk about how to turn the equation into a verbal sentence. So we got 6x plus 9 is equal to 72. Remember, one of the rules about writing sentences, any number under 10 has to be written out as a number, or has to be written out as a word. You cannot use the number. So we could have the product of 6 and x plus 9 is 72. Another sentence that we could write out for this. 6 times X increased by 9 equals 72. Obviously, like we talked about last chapter, these are just 2 examples of how we could write these sentences. There are many more, but the key thing is that you are using some of those words from your chart or from the chart in the room to describe what is happening in the sentence, making sure that you're going from left to right in the equation. An example for the next one. 1/2 of M decreased by a number cubed is 132. Another example for this is we could say 1 divided by 2 times M minus T to the 3rd power equals 132. Again, just a couple of options out of the many possible ones. Another thing that we need to do is write out the equation and then solve the problem. So for example, John makes $20 for each lawn he mows. How many lawns did he mow if he made a total of $500? So going through and reading that first sentence again, John makes $20 for each lawn that he mows. $20 being a key thing, and each lawn being a key thing. The lawns, we don't know how many of them there are, so we're going to call that X. For each of those, he gets $20, so that means we're going to be multiplying by $20, and total, he gets $500. In order to solve this, we need to figure out how much something times 20 is going to give us 500. We can figure that out by dividing each of those by 20, and I end up with 25 lawns. Again, remember, since it is a word problem, you need to have a label on your answer. Go ahead and try this one on your own. Your original equation should have been X plus 145 is equal to 657. She put that extra money into her account, so she added that up. In order to figure out how much she started with, we need to subtract from the total, and I end up with a starting amount of $512. If you have questions about this or anything else from the lesson, please let me know when you get to class.